Yes, and the news media can help us a great deal in getting full disclosure, something that they seek, and indeed something which is represented by the appellation of this week, as I understand it, National Sunshine Week, which reminds me of a wonderful comment made by one of the most distinguished Supreme Court justices of all times, Louis Brandeis, who said that sunlight is the best disinfectant. Keep that in mind. That's what we're looking for, is some sunlight. Okay, Jim Lesar. Jim, please.
Thank you. Most of, may I have the glass of water? I had prepared some remarks, but I have great difficulty in seeing, and a great deal of what I had planned to say has been covered in some measure by the speakers who have already spoken. But I wanted to basically address a question that has been raised by Judge Thunheim and by the others about what we do. First of all, we need to thank Judge Thunheim profoundly for his continuing and tireless efforts to deal with a difficult subject far more than most people would do. He has served the public interest. And what I want to get into is sort of where do we go from here. Before I do it, I would follow the practice of responding to somebody raised a question about Trump's position on the JFK Act. And what I can add to that is that you need to place that in context and ask, why didn't Obama act to release these records? On the day that he took office, he issued a profoundly inspiring statement on the importance of Freedom of Information Act, and he directed his Attorney General to instruct all heads of all executive agencies and departments to take measures to fulfill that act. And he, in 2009, issued a new executive order which profoundly changed previous practice regarding secrecy in a beneficial measure. And as part of that, he also established the National Declassification Center, which was intended to declassify 400 million pages of records by 2013, I think was the date. Pardon? At a series of hearings in front of the NDC, I and others raised questions about what was going to happen to the JFK Act records, whether they would be part of the 400 million pages to be disclosed, and if so, given the fact that JFK, requesters for JFK assassination-related records far outnumber those in any other subject matter, why should they not be placed at the head of the queue and processed first? Initially, the response from the acting director at that time was acting director of the NDC was that I'm sorry, he was the acting director of the National Archives, he responded that they would be. He indicated that they would be, and that there was something on the order of 5 million pages and some 50,000 pages that he thought had been withheld. Unfortunately, that was followed by a later conference in which there was a new chairman headed by a lady who had been an operations officer for the CIA, and she backtracked on that. At one meeting, at one of these meetings, I was approached by a staff member of the NDC who told me in response to my question that the order not to process the JFK Act records as part of the NDC project came directly from the White House. That is part of the problem, is that the CIA began to assert control over the records and resisted in all kinds of ways the disclosure. It took Morley's lawsuit was the first to be able to try and pinpoint the number of documents that the CIA claimed were being withheld, entirely withheld until 2017. Initially, that figure was about 700. That was admitted to by the CIA in the course of Morley's lawsuit. That soon changed, and the number then escalated to 774, I think, 774. More recently, the number has gone to 3,346 records or thereabouts, according to National Archives press releases. But and those, it is specified, are entirely withheld records, withheld in their entirety until 2017. There are, in fact, other persons who have more personal knowledge about this than I do have said that that number may be more like 5,000. And here we're talking about entirely withheld, and we're not talking about the number of pages. In addition, there are a huge amount of documents that have been withheld until been partially withheld. And there are estimates here that I've seen in my personal estimate is probably, this may be in the range of 30 to 50,000. But we don't know because, again, we're faced with the problem of not having sufficient reliable information. Now, the Judge Thunheim and others have raised the question about what do we do with the fact that the experience of the past teaches us that things that we thought were not believed relevant indeed turn out to be very significant and very worthy of consideration. The answer is that at present time, ironically, we've been put in the condition, in the situation where filing a FOIA lawsuit is preferable to trying to proceed under the JFK Act, because there is Obama's executive order put into effect a provision for automatic declassification of historically significant records, and limited the number of documents which could be, the number of exemptions which could be claimed after 50 years to 2, one of which was information related to national defense or foreign policy, and secondly, to national defense, and secondly, intelligence sources and methods. Jeff Morley eloquently described the process of dealing with the CIA, and he suggested that one of the things that we need to do is to establish a new board, somewhat like the review board. That is one way to go, but I think that there is a better way. The JFK Act has a provision in it for oversight by Congress, and I think we need to get the issues that have been raised here today before Congress. There are, I see that my time's about up. I'll just close by saying we need to get issues before Congress that relate to the oversight hearings. The oversight hearings were last held under the JFK Act in 1993, I think. There have been none since then. Yet it is obvious that given what has happened over the course of time, there have been enormous, important disclosure after disclosure after disclosure due to the review board's work. But there has been no assessment by Congress of what were the pluses and minuses of the review board's performance. I think that is one thing that needs to be done. Secondly, we know as a result of Jeff Morley's work in the Morley case that the CIA, Joanides turned out to be, and admitted during the course of the litigation, an undercover agent who was supposed to investigate the CIA's activities regarding the DRE, a Cuban exile organization that had been in contact with Lee Harvey Oswald. He didn't do that. We need oversight by Congress into why the CIA subverted the accountability function of the House Select Committee on Assassinations. There is no democratic accountability unless you have review by Congress of executive agency actions. We don't have it, we need it. This in a way relates, we've had the same thing come up with regard to the Church Committee and with the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence on terrorism, on the CIA's torture practices. Lastly, I want to call your attention to the kind of information that comes out that puts a new focus on things. There is a story which I have copies of here that ran on January 25th, reporting a new lawsuit that my organization filed, and it is seeking records relating to the September 25, 1963 memorandum at a meeting chaired by Admiral Curtis LeMay, a bitter opponent of President Kennedy, and that That meeting had a detailed report by Desmond Fitzgerald, who was involved in the AMLASH business, as to the CIA study of the July 20 Hitler plot as a means of as one of their actions against Fidel Castro and his regime. Pardon?
Guevara?
Let
yeah.
Jerry finish.
Yeah,
please.
So the fact is that this memo was released by the review board, but apparently there was no investigation of this allegation that the CIA was studying plots to studying the Hitler plot as a means of conducting operations against Castro. And so we have asked for that information, and the CIA initially denied having any. Then it said, oh, wait a minute, we do have some, and then it later reversed. So I follow that lawsuit to see what happens with the CIA.
Thank you, folks, we're just a little behind time, not much. I'd like to just take then a 5-7 minute break, give people a chance to go to laboratories, get a coffee, a drink, and come back. We have, I hope you have obtained the program. You see what is there. We'll proceed consistent with what is set forth in the program. So please do come back in about 5-7 minutes, okay?